All right, let's jump right in. We're tackling a huge question today. How do you actually build an AI you can trust? And I don't mean for picking a movie. I'm talking about AI making life or death decisions for government agencies. This is about the most sensitive, high stakes stuff imaginable. So let's get into it. And this quote right here, this is the core idea of this whole explainer. It's about a complete change in mindset. Usually audit logs are just an afterthought, something you check when things go wrong. But this model, it says no. The ability to prove why an AI did what it did, that has to be the entire point of its design, right from the very beginning.
So that's the real gut check question, isn't it? It's just not enough for an AI to be smart or fast. When it's deciding something like your healthcare eligibility, it has to be totally transparent, completely accountable, and maybe most importantly, defensible when the auditors come knocking.
Okay, so before we can really appreciate the solution, we have to get our heads around the problem. For years, the big knock against powerful AI has been this idea of the black box. You get an answer out of it, but you have no idea how it got there. Now, in a low-stakes situation, that's annoying. In government, it's a total non-starter. I mean, we're talking about agencies like Health and Human Services, which are buried under these incredibly strict compliance rules. Things like FedRAMP High for security or Mars A for healthcare data. These aren't just suggestions, they're the law. So imagine for a second that someone gets wrongly denied critical benefits by an AI. If the agency can't prove exactly why that happened, the legal and human fallout is just catastrophic. A simple log file just doesn't cut it. It is a massive, massive liability. And this is where you can really see the night and day difference. Traditional logging is all reactive. It just records what happened, kind of like a security camera. But forensic auditability, it's proactive. It's designed from the ground up to prove why it happened. You're basically moving from a fragile record that someone could deny to an ironclad, defensible case file that can stand up in court. So how in the world do you actually do that? How do you build a system that can defend itself? Let's get into the solution and see how you can build a case that is, quite literally, undeniable. The key innovation here is something called a reasoning trace. And I want you to forget about messy, cryptic log files. Think of this more like a detective's evidence file for every single decision the AI makes. It's structured, it's complete, and it tells a human-readable story of the AI's logic, from point A to point Z. And this isn't just some nice-to-have feature. The whole thing is engineered to satisfy incredibly strict federal standards like NIST AU 100, which is all about non-repudiation. Now that's just a fancy way of saying the system gives you absolute, irrefutable proof of who did what and when they did it. There is zero room for denial. Okay, so let's pop the hood on this thing. What's actually inside this digital evidence file? What makes it so powerful and so convincing to a federal auditor? This whole reasoning trace is built on 4 pillars. First, you have the specific evidence, like the exact sentence from a 500-page policy manual the AI used. Second, a cryptographic chain of custody that logs every single touch point. Third, a confidence score that shows exactly how certain the AI was. And finally, and this is the brilliant part, a self-critique, proving the AI actually tried to poke holes in its own logic. Put them all together, and you have a record that's basically unassailable. Now, creating that perfect evidence file, that's half the battle. The other half is protecting it. How do you guarantee that once a record is made, nobody, not even a system administrator with the keys to the kingdom, can ever change or delete it? Well, the answer is a technology called Worm Compliance Storage, WORM. It stands for Write Once, Read Many. And honestly, it's the digital equivalent of carving something in stone. Once that reasoning trace is written to this storage, it is locked. You can read it 1,000,000 times, but it can never, ever be changed or deleted. By anyone. And this number, 7 years, man, that really tells you how serious this is. Federal law mandates that these unchangeable records are locked down and kept for a minimum of 7 years. This isn't just a company policy, it's the law, enforced by the technology itself. Okay, now we get to what is honestly my favorite part of this whole design, the self-critique mechanism. This is where the system goes from just being transparent to being actively trustworthy. It's basically an AI that's designed to be its own biggest skeptic. One of the biggest dangers with any complex AI is confirmation bias, right? It finds one piece of evidence that points to an answer, and then it just stops looking, completely ignoring anything that might contradict it. So how do you force it to be, well, intellectually honest? You build its own worst critic right into the code. It's like a tiny, hostile auditor living inside the AI. If the AI thinks someone is eligible for a benefit, the self-critique function makes it go back and actively hunt for reasons why they might be ineligible. If it finds a conflict, it writes down the whole debate, lowers its own confidence score, and can even flag the case for a human to review. It's an amazing way to fight bias.
And this right here is the ultimate safety net. It's absolutely critical. No matter how smart the AI is, it can only ever propose a decision. That proposal then gets double-checked by a much simpler system, a business rules engine that uses hard-coded math based directly on the law. If there's any conflict at all, the simple, provable math wins, every single time. The AI is a brilliant advisor, but the law is the final boss. Okay, so let's zoom out and put all these pieces together. What this whole framework really represents is a fundamental shift, a whole new way of thinking about how we build and use AI in jobs that really, really matter.
You know that old saying, trust but verify? Well, that was the old way. You'd launch a system and just kind of hope it was right, then scramble to fix things when it wasn't. This new model flips that completely on its head. It's verify, then trust. Trust isn't the starting point anymore, it's the result. It's something that is earned on every single decision by providing proof you can see and verify. And really, that's what this is all about at the end of the day. The goal is to create a digital caseworker that doesn't ask for your faith. Instead, it offers a verifiable record, proving that it can operate with the same level of transparency and accountability we demand from any human doing the same critical job. Which leaves us with one last big question. We've just seen proof that AI doesn't have to be a black box. It can be made fully accountable. So if we can build this for the most complex government systems in the world, what's stopping us from demanding this same level of provable accountability for AI in every other part of our lives?